All right. Hey, everybody. Let's get started. Thank you for being on this call. I know there's a lot going on right now with the changes happening towards instruction, all because of the alerts we've been getting lately. So I really appreciate you taking some time away to talk with me today. So just so you guys know, all of you are muted. You do have the ability to unmute yourself so that you can talk to me, which I hope you do. And I'll just get the panel started with some basic questions. But before we actually get started, I want to let you know that this is going to be recorded because the hope is that this is going to be a new means for us to use virtual platforms to conduct recruiting. So one of the things that I always hear when I was working in the ESE office is that students or prospective students want to talk to current students. That really helps to make a decision and determine if this lifestyle that you're having as a graduate student at Penn Engineering is something that fits within their life goals or fits within what they want for themselves. So your participation today is going to be really useful. So before I get started with the actual panel, you guys can unmute yourself because I really just want to check in with you. How are you doing? I know a lot of panic is happening right now. The university is doing its best to get out the best communication, to let everybody know what's going on. So how are things going for you with the virus alert?
It's been pretty stressful. I feel like a lot of uncertainty. As you know, I had plans to go to Australia in July, and I was told to rethink those plans. I was also retold to think a lot of the experiments that I had planned for just like future publications. So just having to rework a lot of things. I feel a lot of uncertainty, but trying to take things one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that's all we can do. I'm sorry for the impact. How is it affecting others?
It's pretty conferences I was planning on going to was canceled, and it's just been generally just disruptive to the plan that I had going forward. I already had an experiment going on that seemed like it was it would have worked, and I would have been able to get data from very important time points, and now I have to just kind of stop the experiment halfway as it's looking promising and just kind of have to redo it in a few weeks or months. So that was a little bit disappointing, but it's nice to see that it was working at least.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that's like.
So for me, luckily, I'm computational. So I was able to bring my workstation from my lab back to my apartment.
Okay.
And so all my research can be done smoothly. But it's definitely going to be hard keeping up constant communication with my lab mates and with my advisor. So that's definitely going to be a challenge in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of the work that you guys are doing is very interdisciplinary. So it's going to be, like you said, it's going to present a challenge being sure, making sure that you're staying connected with all the people involved.
With me, I'm part of the MCIT online cohort. And one of the things is I work in the mortgage space. And today and a couple of, and a little bit of last week, the volume has been really high because there's so much refinances. And I have not been able to touch any work whatsoever in regard to school. So I've been, working from somewhere like 6 a.m. to sometimes 1 a.m. in the morning. So it's been very interesting and troubling for some, but yeah, that's my experience.
Whoa. I don't know how you maintain those hours.
Yeah, you you can't. I'm just a talking zombie right now.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for your commitment to participate in this session. Well, before we go on, I do want to introduce Dr. Thao Lu is on the line. Boon Thao Lu is on the line. He's our Associate Dean for graduate programs, specifically the master's program and the professional programs we have at Penn Engineering. So Dr. Lu, if you want to say anything, please chime in.
Sure, thank you. As you all can see, I'm also working from home. Thank you, all of you, for getting on this panel. And I hope you will all share your interesting Penn experiences that will be seen again and again by many other students. It's challenging times, but I think we have also seen the best of Penn students helping each other out. And so I'm sure we'll all.
Okay, great. Thanks, Boone. All right, so to get us started, I do have some specific questions that I shared with you guys, but for the sake of the recording, I do want to say thank you for those of you who are listening to this recording. My name is Christina Burton. I'm the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions Operations at Penn Engineering, and I am conducting this student panel because I recognize that for a lot of you all who are considering graduate programs at Penn Engineering, you're unable to join us physically on campus because of all of the alerts that are happening right now. I hope that you are staying safe, and I hope that you are making decisions to keep yourself healthy and to maintain your well-being. But in order to cater to really a difficult time for everyone, we're conducting this virtual recruitment event, and I have several of our graduate students joining me today, and they will introduce themselves and talk with you about their experience at Penn Engineering. So as we go around, we have a few people in the room. I'm just gonna ask you guys to unmute yourself. Just introduce yourself by saying your name and identifying to which program you are enrolled. And then also if you can just let us know why engineering? Why did you decide to pursue engineering as a career field?
So my name is Victor Acero. I'm a second-year bioengineering PhD student, and I decided to choose engineering as a career field because specifically bioengineering, because I like the interdisciplinary nature of engineering. I feel that you are very flexible and can bring together knowledge and information from a lot of different fields and disciplines to create something useful. For example, biomimicry is something that I'm very interested in. I think it's amazing that we can use our understanding of biological systems to create something that works better than had we just tried to redesign the wheel, so to speak. So.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I'm Tahiya. I'm a third-year PhD student in ESE. I work primarily in robotics. I became involved in engineering, originally interested in engineering because of this idea of social impact and the idea that you can help people through technology. So right now I work on multi-robot systems and environmental monitoring, so how you can use teams of robots to sense the environment and build models of things like pollutants or oil spills. So this idea of how technology and society can interact has always been really interesting to me.
My name is Justin Cooke. I'm a first-year PhD student in meme. Initially, I got interested in engineering through a lot of conversations with one of my good friends. His older brother was studying mechanical engineering at RIT, and just hearing about all the different classes he was taking really spoke to me and really made me figure out that that was a path I wanted to go down, especially considering growing up, I always it's very cliche, but I always loved playing with Legos, just building stuff, being creative and trying to design things. And so I felt that mechanical engineering would be the best path for me based on that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jordan Figueroa. I am doing the Master's Online in Computer Information Technology program. I'm a second semester student. And so originally I did mechanical engineering undergrad and then decided to do this program. I got interested in engineering just because of the problem solving skills that you acquire as an engineer. I think that's very applicable in any part of life. And I switched from mechanical to computer science because just in our day and age, computer science is very useful for many things. It can be applied to many different industries. So just having that ability, I thought was very powerful and for future days to come. So.
You.
Hi, everyone. I'm William Kaseu. I am also part of the MCIT online program. This is my first semester at Penn. And the reason why I decided to pursue a graduate degree in computer science is because I understood, or at least one of the things that I recognized is in the investment field, many things are getting technological. And in order to better myself and make sure that in the future, I can, do good by my clients in terms of, when I'm investing for them, I want to make sure that I have the most cutting edge technology and an understanding of it. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure I was doing here is to learn all the intricacies of computer science and data science. That's why I chose this program.
Thank you.
Hi. Is it okay? Okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Julian. I'm a third year in chemical engineering. So it really made me want to do engineering was I'm interested in, solving challenging problems in society and looking at how we can advance in a sustainable way. So that's what brought me to chemical engineering.
Hi, I'm Lilia. I am a first year in also in chemical engineering, and I chose that because I really liked the number of different problems that you could solve with engineering. It's a very broad kind of discipline, and I really liked it for the problem solving aspect and just the kind of applied part of it. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. I think what I learned, what I heard from you guys is you guys got to engineering from very different paths and for very different reasons. What I heard was really popular is that people wanted to have the ability to solve problems. People wanted to have the technical expertise needed to solve problems that are very nuanced. And most importantly, or as important as all of those, is that people really wanted to have a societal impact. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And what I'd like for you guys to talk about is, given your passion, because what I heard in all of your responses is definitely passion. And given your passion, I'd like for you to tell me why you decided to continue your studies at Penn Engineering. So I think in answering that question, I really want you to also think about, what did you prioritize when you were considering other graduate schools? Because I imagine most of you had the opportunity, had several offers that you were fielding. And in addition to that, I wanted to know, what would you advise for people who are prospective students who are also in the same place right now of thinking about what program is best suited for them?
So I
Keep going,
factored a couple
Kaseu.
things into my decision to come to Penn. The first of which was I felt like it was a very collaborative environment. So working in robotics, there are 3 different departments that are under this umbrella of GRASP, which is basically the Robotics Institute of Penn. And so there's a huge community there, and I feel like I've maintained a lot of professional and personal relationships through this umbrella of GRASP. And I think this ties into the question of what I was looking for when I was weighing Penn versus other schools. And at the end of the day, you're going to spend a lot, if not most of your time with your colleagues. And it was really important for me to be in a place where I could envision spending 40, 50 hours a week, if not more, with these people that were going to be in my lab. I also really love Philadelphia. I'm a little biased because I'm from around Philly, but being in Philadelphia as a grad student has been amazing for me. I find it to be really affordable. I really love living in this scale of a city. So that was also a huge consideration when I was looking into graduate schools.
So for myself, I was really focused on selecting the school based on the advisor. I think it's really important to have a good connection with your advisor because you're going to be spending the next 5 years, 5 to 6 years with this person. They're going to be your mentor, both from an academic standpoint, from a personal standpoint. So for me, I was actually able to meet my advisor, Dr. George Park, on a visit to Penn in the fall of last year. And just from conversations with him, I could tell that he was very well spoken. He had a very good direction of what type of lab he wanted. I could tell that he would be able to help me both academically and personally and emotionally, and that he would be pretty much like the ideal mentor to have. Also, similarly, I loved just Philadelphia. I'm originally from Boston, so the two cities are pretty similar, both very like old revolutionary, like colonial style cities, which I really liked. And yeah, it's just, those are probably two of the most important things that I considered.
Hi, this is William again, and my perspective is just a little bit different. So I originally started graduate school at Brown University, and I was in the MS in data science program over there. But I didn't have the luxury of going to school full time, so I had to leave. And one of the things that drew me to University of Pennsylvania is the unique program, the MCIT program, which was being offered online. And one of the things that's really great about that program is it's designed for working professionals. So I was going to be able to still go to school while working full time. So I really liked that. And then one of the other things that also drew me to University of Pennsylvania is the ambition. You know, I wanted to be part of a school where the individuals there are very ambitious. They want to go out and change the world. They always think about solving the next big problem. So I wanted to be in that environment so that I could grow personally and professionally. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to allow other people to answer, but for those of you who just joined us, people are just, well, first of all, please introduce yourself and let us know what program you're in at Penn Engineering. But then also people are just going around and telling us why they chose Penn Engineering. So what was it about Penn? What were they prioritizing when they were looking at schools that made them say, yes, Penn is the school for me? And what would they advise prospective students to consider when deciding where they should continue their studies?
Hi, I'm gonna jump in. I'm sorry I'm late, guys. My name is Kendall Queen. I'm a third-year PhD student in electrical and systems engineering. I have a pretty interesting setup as I'm a part of the GRASP lab. I'm sure I see a couple other GRASPies in here. But the way that I'm set up is I'm working with an advisor in computer science. He has a dual or a multidisciplinary type of situation where he can advise students from multiple disciplines. So I'm doing my degree in electrical engineering, but most of the work I do is in computer science and robotics. So I can answer any questions about that. But I have been pretty fortunate being here. One of the biggest things I considered was working with my advisor and having that relationship. I think that's one of the most important factors in considering a PhD program besides the reason why you want to do one. But we can talk about that later. So in addition to that, I was also looking for a space that was different than where I came from. So I grew up in kind of like a rural suburb. undergrad at UMBC, which is right outside of Baltimore. Very, very suburban feel, even though it was like pretty close to the city. So when I came here for a summer program, then I started to realize that like my time here would be really nice. The city was open kind of late. I'm a night owl. There are places to eat, and the food is great, and the prices aren't terrible. Kind of the environment triggered the thought of living here, which kind of helped me lead more into my decision at Penn. And I think William was just speaking and like talking about like the greatness that is around Penn, and someone just previous about their advisor. I think all of those things are very important as well. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself and jump in. So yeah.
Thanks, Kendall.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else want to jump in?
Hold on. All right. Hi, everyone. Julian again. So what really drove me to Penn was obviously like the city is great. A lot of graduate programs, they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. That's not something I really wanted. I got to, have conversations with my advisors when I visited, and I really liked like their advising style in addition to the work that was done. I like their availability. And it's not often that you see, top tier like researchers at a large research institution that are very like available to students. That's how it is. That's how I felt, at least in my department. Other schools I go to, you talk to them and their students like, yeah, we see them, once a month maybe. And for some people that's good, for some people that's not. But like what other people said, I really like the collaborativeness at Penn, especially in engineering. Like a lot of the departments are kind of like clustered together with departments they're really close to. And then they also have, collaborations with people that aren't even in engineering. They're in medicine or they're in chemistry and other things like that. So you really get to not only meet a lot of people, but you get to like learn about a lot of different problems that people are working on and the way their approaches to solving them. So yeah, so I chose Penn.
Okay, thank you. We do have a few more people who haven't yet responded. Do you guys want to just chime in? Feel free.
Yeah, I can respond quickly. Yeah, so again, I'm Jordan. I'm doing an MCIT online program, and I chose Penn because of the reputation, also the history of Penn. Obviously, Penn is very prestigious, and I had a friend that was finishing his PhD there, so he kind of convinced me to go to Penn as well. And obviously, just the history of the program, especially in computer science, the ENIAC was created at Penn, so that drew me to Penn as well. And just echoing everybody else's comments, just the level of students, the caliber that go there, they're really motivated to do things and make an impact. So that played a factor as well.
And for me, it was a combination of the prestige from the university, knowing the departments were of high quality, but as a grad student, you're only in lab let's say like half of the time. The other half of the time you have to live in the city, and Philadelphia was just a very safe and affordable city, and so I felt very comfortable like making a decision to live here for an extended period of time that doesn't have like a clear end date. And so that was like a big factor in the decision for me. There's a few other cities that I could have gone to for grad school, but Philly was a city that I felt was the only city that I felt excited to live in for an extended period of time.
I think just to sort of chime in, hi, I'm Lilia again, and so I actually also did like a summer program. I think Kendall also did that, and again in Philadelphia, and I really liked the city. And when I came to visit, I really liked the environment and the professors and students and how everyone seemed to get along, and it seemed like a really nice place to do work, and I really saw myself there. So I think that's also really helpful. So kind of like if you get a chance to visit, to see like how comfortable you feel there. But yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So what I heard from what everyone shared is that community is a big part of why you decided to continue your graduate studies at Penn Engineering. And also, I want to get back to that in a second because I want to talk about how you found community within Penn Engineering outside of your lab. Like, how did you build relationships? But before we go there, I want to talk about your research, because something that almost everyone shared when they first talked about why they got into engineering was that they wanted to have some impact or rich impact on their clients perhaps, or the communities that they're serving. So if you could you just generally, protect yourself, but generally talk about the research that you're doing, and also what kind of impact you expect to have with your research.
So I mentioned this a little bit before earlier. I work on multi-robot systems for modeling. So what that involves is taking a team of robots, putting them in an environment where they don't have great access to communication, or the environment is otherwise really complex and uncertain, we don't know a lot about it, and giving them some sensors on board and saying, build a model, try and figure out what's going on, and try and use that model to determine where to sense next to build an even better model, or how you can use that model in trying to determine how you should actually control the robots. So the techniques that I work on for my actual research are pretty general and independent of the types of environments and robots that you're working with, or the environments that you're working in. But for me, I focus a lot on the environmental applications of this and how this can be used for environmental monitoring or remediation. So looking at how can we, say, model oil spills. So in simulation, I validated that these robot teams can model things as complex as oil spills or concentrations of pollutants in the atmosphere, but I'll test them in a different way in the lab. So it's trying to find this blend between what research can I do that answers basic research questions, but how can I still stay true to the applications that I care about, which are the environment and being able to use robots in robust and meaningful ways.
Yeah, I can. Ooh, am I? Oh, I am. Okay. Yeah, I can jump in. The research, again, like my lab is computer vision and geometry with Costas Analytis. So a lot of the work that my lab does is theoretical. I'm one of the few people that likes to take some of that theory and apply it towards real world systems. So that's where the robotics comes in. I'm currently one of a couple researchers that are investigating this novel dynamic vision sensor. If people want to talk about that later, you can always email me and I can give you a rundown or a couple papers to read. But in short, we're trying to take that sensor and apply it to some real world problems where my project in particular is dealing with the idea of lane following. So kind of like an autonomous vehicle direction, specifically with this sensor, and that we can say that we can remove a couple of the sensors that are very popular, like LiDAR and traditional cameras, and apply those to the same type of situations, and as well as reduce the price for how much these sensors cost in relation to the more popular ones that are involved with autonomous vehicles. So yeah, that's like a general aspect of what I'm doing right now.
Hi, this is Justin again. So my research is primarily computational fluid dynamics. However, the application is right now I'm working in a team of involves taking a look at looking at aerodynamic lift and drag for micro aerial vehicles, actually. So the project is robotics based, it's design based, and my research is supplementary. So these micro aerial vehicles are going to be less than centimeter scale. Hopefully they can go places where people can't or shouldn't go, be able to help in natural disaster scenarios, or any situation where people cannot access, but they need to know what's going on. So it's very interesting, very cool. I've never had any prior robotics research experience, but I'm glad that I'm able to provide some type of help and with my area of expertise.
I guess I can go. My research is, so I'm co-advised in an experimental and computational lab, but my work right now is just computational. And I'm looking at like analyzing the surface of proteins to see if we can find patterns to make non-fouling surfaces. And so that like finding like sort of the next generation of like non-fouling surfaces basically could be really helpful in like creating like a really wide range of things. Like it could make ships, you know, like have like smoother hulls so that they can go faster, and it'll like reduce the cost of energy in like in ship fuel, and it could help with like medical implants and to prevent the foreign body response. And so it has like a very wide application, but with like a lot of potential to help.
Hello, can you guys see me and hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I thought I got disconnected. But yes, so I'm part of the MCIT cohort, and we don't do necessarily research. However, what I've been working on is in January, I started a launch up or a startup where we're trying to use artificial intelligence to apply to jobs on people's behalves. So one of the things that we found very challenging as students was that you know, you'd have to go and apply to dozens and dozens of jobs just to get an interview. So me and a couple of friends decided that, hey, so you learning data science, I'm learning computer science, can we come together and figure out a way to apply on people's behalf so that people do not need to, you know, sit down and spend hundreds of hours applying to jobs. So I'm hoping, at least in this program, once I get to more of the data science stages, we'll be able to implement some of the techniques we learn in that class to, you know, optimize our algorithm and make sure that we can, you know, launch this billion-dollar startup, should I say. Hopeful.
Julian, I see you talking. I can't hear you though. Just gotta unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry. All right, Julian again. So I work in a catalysis and fuel cell lab in chemical engineering. I've shifted gears a little bit in grad school. Been doing a couple of different projects, jumping around. But our main focus is try to modify the traditional way that you'd make different types of catalysts. So that would produce hydrogen, or fuel cells that would produce energy from fuels like hydrogen or methane. Try to modify them, make them more active, make them more stable. So you get energy savings, you get cost savings, and then try to make them more, I guess, flexible in the conditions they can withstand. So it's using different synthesis techniques to kind of study and change the materials that you traditionally work with. So that's what I do. Yeah. I work for Raymond Gordy and John Vose.
And so my research focus is two parts. One of them is trying to develop an in vitro test bed. So it's very to study different psychotropic compounds, effects on networks in the hippocampus and in the cortex. So it's very difficult to try to do very pieced apart pharmacology in an animal or in a human, but in a petri dish, it's very easy to do it at a high rate. So it's high throughput. You can manipulate the system a lot more. And so I'm currently developing that test bed, and the immediate proof of concept is going to be with psychedelic compounds, which are currently gaining FDA breakthrough therapy status and are becoming more novel clinical tools. And once that is done, the research is going to move on towards showing if psychedelic compounds such as MDMA and psilocybin have the ability to reduce and improve the functional recovery of a patient suffering from traumatic brain injury or stroke. And that'll be with animal models. I'm very excited for this research. It'll be the first time that this kind of psychedelic research comes to Penn. And I'm just excited to be introducing something that is so novel right now to the community here. And I'm really excited to see if other people in the community start working with it as well.
Yeah, so same as William, I'm doing the MCIT online program. So we don't have any research per se, but in the same aspect as he said, just what this program does and what it brings to you, it allows you to have this ability. And so, I mean, one of my passions, why I wanted to do this program and have this ability was because I wanted to combine neuroscience and artificial intelligence to create a product in the education space. I feel like a lot of people want to learn things, but they find it difficult. So I feel like AI can help there. And actually, just the beauty of this program as well is that I met one of my classmates, he's studying neuroscience, and we've met at a conference and we've been talking and chatting it up. And yeah, something might come from it. Stay tuned.
Nice. You guys are doing amazing things. You're up to big things. I'm really glad to hear that. And thank you for sharing. I want to get back to the community piece. I want to hear from you guys. I go out to these different spaces, and some of the things that you shared as to why you decided to choose Penn Engineering, I'm able to share with prospective students as well, like the community you can create, being in an awesome city, Philadelphia, the 5th largest city in the US, and it being affordable and fun. There are nonstop activities that happen throughout the week. So I'm able to share those things, but what I'm not able to share, because I don't have the direct experience you do, is what it's like being a grad student at Penn Engineering. So could you just speak to your background and how that lends to you sort of creating community within Penn Engineering? How are you doing that? How are you being strategic about taking care of yourself outside of academia and making sure that you have a supportive community around you?
I want to jump in on this. So I definitely agree. I think someone stated that a good part of your time is spent in the lab, but you have all this other time that's spent outside of it. And having a support system is paramount for you to succeed in graduate school. I mean, a lot of people can resort to different types of support, like if it's your parents or friends or people in your lab or people in your department or in other departments in Penn Engineering. I mean, the list kind of goes on. I have a lot of friends that have graduated from undergrad with me or around my time and have moved to Philadelphia or surrounding parts. Julian is actually one of those people, my guy. And we have kind of spent some time to develop some sort of community that allows us to get away from the everyday work life. And we can either spend time and hang out and do something fun, or we can, throw a kickback and talk about anything but research or the work that you're doing. And it kind of allows you to step away from the stuff that kind of crowds your mind and gives you a chance to relax, gives you a chance to kind of decompress. And even more so, it's very helpful for you to be thinking about your problem in the back of your head as well. The other side of that is developing some form of community in your department or in your lab or surrounding areas, whatever level you want to explore. My level has been in ESE. I've spent some time kind of identifying people that are like-minded, that have similar goals, that find similar things interesting, and I spend time with them. They're not just like people I can hang out with, but they're people I also confide in, and kind of talk through some of the issues, either if it's like social issues or if it's like problems with research to a certain extent. They're there and they're willing to help and they're willing to listen, even if listening is the only thing they can do. So I think it's very important to find that, but I know everyone is different and everyone has their own level of comfortability. But it's important that you find some sort of system outside of your advisor, outside of your everyday work life, because that I found is like really, really important for me to keep pushing in this environment, keep pushing in my research, and not to be too serious and to let go and kind of have some fun sometime too. So I think that's very important. Yeah, I think that's all I gotta say about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Kendall. It's been really important to find just like-minded people that enjoy doing the same things as you and, have similar perspective as you in terms of what type of support they want in a research program. So to be more explicit, as a woman and person of color and first generation and student, it is hard. Like, it's undeniably hard. There are a lot of things working against you, and to find camaraderie in that situation, whether that's with other women or people of color, first generation students, or people that are allies in supporting you accomplish your goals, it's really important to find a good group of people. And if you have ever heard me talk about my grad school experience before, you'll hear the first things that I talk about are my amazing friends. Like, everyone who I talk to about recruitment have heard me say, I wouldn't make it through grad school without Kendall and Matt Malencia, who's not on this panel right now. But I mean, Christina worked with us in the ESE department, and she saw how much we supported each other and how much that was paramount to our success. And can't emphasize this enough. Grad school's tough without a good group of people that support you in your goals, and it takes some trial and error to find that, but just be open to it.
I didn't know if you wanted me to shout you out, T, but I was going to. I was like, nah. But okay, cool.
I'll chime in on the MCIT online program. Just in the nature, it's a little bit hard building a community online, but the MCIT program, even though it's in the early stages, has done a pretty good job so far. And we have our own Slack channel where we can have different groups, different interests, different cities where we live. And we also have like professional developments, webinars, things of that nature, where they host different speakers, panel, other students in the programs, and even professors to talk about upcoming electives. So they try to build that community's aspect of it, but it's definitely challenging, to be honest. And but something I recommend for anybody listening, if they decide to do an online program, is usually universities have local chapters. So Penn Club LA is where I live. I live in LA. They have a chapter here, and actually joined that chapter. And I've gone to some of the events and met some of the folks as well. And also the Professor Boone, I don't think he's in the call anymore, but he came to LA and he had a dinner with us for the MCIT online program. So I got to meet him, meet other classmates. So Penn overall tries to build that community, I think, very well and tailor to everybody.
just to add on to that, because I'm also part of that online cohort, and one of the things that I've realized is there's a lot of Penn Engineering students throughout the world. So even in Providence and in Boston and in Dallas, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of Penn Engineering students. And I like the fact that, again, as he had said previously, that there are chapters that you can join and you can always feel a part of a community. One of the most important things, at least to me, that I feel students or prospective students should know is that it's okay to take a break. Sometimes you just need to, especially as graduate schools is much more challenging than undergrad. You just need to sit down and take a break, and it's fine to take a day off or 2 days off, just so that you can breathe and just let everything go for a while. I found that very beneficial. Especially when a code doesn't work, you try writing it, you try finding the bug, and you just don't see it, right? And I leave the project for a day or two, and I come back, and things are a little bit much more clearer. And I think it's very, very good for a student to take some time off.
Hey, Julian again. So I just want to say another good way to meet people and kind of build your community is just going to like events that the university hosts. So whether it's like through your department or like the School of Engineering, there are a lot of like social events. There are trips. Kendall and I went paintballing a couple months ago. That was really fun. There's happy hours, there's discounted trips to go apple picking and things like that. You can meet people there, or just go on these trips with people you already know. So like definitely like, first year when it's mostly classes, that was really nice to take breaks when I could and go on these trips. And then also now that I'm, done with the classes, still in really deep in the research, it's nice to have these things to look forward to. Some of them are the same every year and some change. So, but it's still really fun. There's a lot of opportunities.
I also found that like we have a lot of power in determining what some of these activities are. So we can, I think paintballing kind of came from an idea someone else in Penn Engineering was kind of spreading around, and then it caught with GSAG and GAPSA. So I think like we have a very good opportunity to influence what we do as engineering students or Penn Engineering students, and how we can interact with each other, and I think our voices are heard in respect to putting on events and what the student body is willing and wanting and wants to do with each other. So I think that's a good factor that I found in Penn Engineering.
Thanks, everybody. So going off of that, I wanted to, I just have two more questions. So these next two go together. So I want to know about the places where you can go, the facilities you use at Penn. So here's the question. So around Philly, what's your go-to spot? After a long week of research, after a long week of classes, coding, experimentations, where do you go to just unwind and where you can be guaranteed to have a good time? So that's question number one. And then number two, within your department or given your research area, what are the facilities like, the laboratory facilities? Because that's something that I'm constantly asked when I'm out doing recruiting.
So if I can hop in, this is Justin. Number one place to go, and if anyone in here has never been there, you're missing out. Go to Reading Terminal Market. That place is hands down probably my favorite place to go. It's literally just a warehouse basically with all types of food. Any type of food you want, they got it. And there's there's even a grocery store. You can get fresh produce, meats, anything. So that's definitely the number one spot I like going. I love the Amish donuts, and there's a really good Puerto Rican place too that has really good cubanas. And My lab, so I'm actually in PICS, which is the Penn Institute for Computational Science. It's a little separate from the other engineering buildings, but it's really cool because they basically have put all of the computational engineering students there, some MEME, CBE, basically anybody that's doing computational stuff. And we actually have access to 2 supercomputing clusters, Chestnut and Walnut. And you use those supercomputing clusters for your research, so you don't have to worry about getting allocation from, say, like NASA or the DoD to do your research. We have a supercomputing cluster that you can use on campus that is maintained by CETS, and it runs very smoothly and works perfectly.
So I can answer the boring question first, which is the facilities question. I am down in Pennovation, Pennovation Center. It opened just a couple years ago, and it is one of 2 places that houses all the robotics folks. It's down in Graysbury, so it's a little disconnected from the rest of the city, but it's a really nice campus with a bunch of facilities. There's like a whole 3rd floor of one of the buildings that's dedicated to flying quads and having this like really open concept space that looks like a robotics scene out of a movie. And then I work in a different building that's right across the parking lot with this huge water tank, which is where we do a lot of testing with underwater robots that we have. And I'm sure someone else can speak to the other robotics facilities that are on campus. My favorite place to relax, I'm not gonna lie, is probably my apartment. I have spent many years perfecting the zen of my apartment, and once I'm there, I am off the clock. Like, don't send me any emails, don't Slack me, because I'm not gonna answer them. Close second is like one of the many BYOs in Philadelphia. Philadelphia has really expensive liquor laws, so a bunch of restaurants are BYOs, and I love being able to connect with my friends and family through just like going out to eat and being able to share that time with them.
I didn't want to answer my apartment because I thought that that was going to be like a weird answer, but I'm glad you took the lead on that, and I agree. I spent a considerable amount of time to perfect my areas in my apartment, and I can really come home and kind of relax after a hard day or after things aren't really working too well. Definitely one of those good places. I think, let's see, like I can speak to the other robotic spaces. So I'm also a member of the Grasp Lab, which is just like, it's an umbrella for almost everything pertaining to robotics at Penn, or specifically in Penn Engineering. But the Grasp Lab is located in the Levine building, which is one of the 4 buildings that houses, or one of the original 4 buildings that houses Penn Engineering. We've expanded since to Grace Ferry, to other parts of Walnut Street and Chestnut Street. But we were in the original, I'm in the original Grasp Lab. So since then, it has actually had a complete makeover. They have pulled everyone out over the winter break, pulled everyone out, ripped up all the carpet, changed the lighting situation, changed the way that we get power, almost everything except for AC, which is not a problem, but it's a slight problem. And they put everything else new. We have new desks. We have new motorized standing desks with presets for the height that you would like to have, which are dope. We have new meeting areas, and we also have a kind of break-esque room / meeting space that we can do a little more like if we have like more social conversations, we can go there and not disturb anybody in original grass. Right now, that specific space contains 3 robotic manipulators. And some people like me, like my robot is a little more mobile. It's a 10 scale car. So I kind of keep that in and around one of the labs or some of the lab spaces if I'm doing experiments. So yeah, and the space has been remodeled to be a very collaborative environment, very open. Some people have different feelings about how that has changed, but for the most part, what I can say about it is that everyone has access to everyone, and that can really help with collaboration as well as like forming some of those friendships and asking for help with problems, which is something that I've done a lot before and after the remodel. So yeah. And yeah, I was thinking of like another space. Reading Terminal Market is just like got everything you need. I don't really frequent too many BYO places. There's a nice place, especially like during the summer. There's a great place called Spruce Street Harbor Park, which is like a little bit farther away from like where we are in University City. It's actually on the other side of the city. But the area is just so nice. It's usually vibrant with people, lights. They got food trucks, hammocks, and just like it's a really nice place to kind of go for a walk on a summer evening or a warm evening or even like a little breezy, So between that and it's right down the street from Penn's Landing. So you can literally walk that whole area and it'll probably take you probably like 30 minutes to get from one side to the other. But I think that's like really relaxing. It's right on the Delaware River. Definitely a spot that I would go. And if friends were visiting, it's like one of the first places I would think of to take them. So definitely a good spot.
All right, let me jump in here. So there's a lot to do in Philly, after hours. Me and my friends kind of developed a little schedule, if you will. So on Mondays, sometimes we go to this local bar. We go to like a beer tasting. So you can get like every week they have a different brewery from like around Philly, around Pennsylvania, around the country, and even like just distributors from like around the world. So it's like a different brewery every week. And then on Tuesdays, we go to this place in Center City called Rosie's Taco Bar. You get $1 tacos. So good. Can't beat them. And there's like this like Belgian beer emporium downtown that has like really good food and really like so many beers, like hundreds of beers called Monks. We go there sometimes. It's been a while though. So that's pretty fun to go to. And there's like other breweries in Philly. There's Yards. There's Dock Street Brewing also in West Philly, which is really good pizza. Super good. So yeah, there's a lot to do in terms of like food and drinking. The art museums are nice. There's a couple science museums in Philly. I've only been to like 1 or 2 of them, but there really is a lot to do if you just got to go out and find it.
If I could hop back in real quick, coming from Pittsburgh for my undergraduate, which is very hilly and not very walkable. Philadelphia is one of the most walkable cities I've ever lived in. And there are a bunch of different parks spread out throughout Center City. I actually live near Rittenhouse Park, which is beautiful. Everybody loves walking their dogs there. This past weekend, I walked all the way up to the Boathouse Row area. Also a very beautiful place to walk to. Walk by the museum, saw the Rocky statue. So if you like walking, there are plenty of parks to do it, so you can feel like you can get outside of the city and escape that if you're more of an outdoorsy person as well.
I like to go down to Chinatown. I think that's actually one of like my favorite places to go to. They have like really a bunch of different bakeries and like boba tea stores. And the bread there, all like the bakeries there, are, like extremely cheap, like unbelievably cheap for some reason. It's like $2.50 for like really like cool like sandwiches and stuff. They also just have like a lot of like just stores, karaoke. So it's like it's a very fun place to like just kind of like walk around for a little bit and get lost in. Regarding Penn facilities, though, yeah, Penn has incredible facilities. I was actually really attracted to the Sing Nano Fabrication Center when I was first touring around at the schools. I was very interested in finding a really good clean room because I imagined that I would be spending like a lot of my time there. And the one here was just really nice because it actually was the only one, I think, in the country that I had ever heard of, which had natural light shining through, because usually they're in a basement or kind of like sequestered because it's hard to be, you know, it's hard to like design. It has to be like the building built with the clean room already in mind and with the access to light built in mind. And I guess it's the only one that's done that. And so it's just a beautiful place to be doing like that kind of research and work in, where most other places you'd be stuck in a basement. Even if the lab space is beautiful, it's just still kind of like a little sad to be underground all day. So the clean room here is like next to none. It's really nice.
I like to jump in and agree with Victor because I worked there in the Sing Center for a summer, and I definitely agree that the natural light is awesome, and the the Sing facilities are really nice, and they're like really new, and like the staff was like also really friendly. I do computational work in PICS, which I think is where Justin also works, and also my other lab that I'm co-advised with, they're in town. They have a bunch of labs there, and I think I haven't worked in them, but I think their labs are really nice, and they keep them like really clean. They're always like on top of that, and they seem to have like a lot of tools. So I think in terms of facilities, it's Penn definitely is like really good. And in terms of like places to do, I think I'll jump on the bandwagon of staying at home. I think I definitely like my apartment. But like in terms of like going out and doing stuff, I really like exploring like the different restaurants and like food trucks just like around University City. My goal is to go to every single food truck, although that might take me 5 years, but I'm gonna do it. And also they have like there's the Penn ice skating rink, which I'm like starting to learn how to ice skate, and that's been really fun. And just like doing like I do also do Taekwondo, so like joining like a sport, even if there's like a bunch of undergrads there, it's still really fun because it's like a nice sense of community. So I think I definitely recommend that too, just like joining a sport or doing something like that. Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks for sharing, guys. I just have one final question. And again, I really appreciate you giving your time for the purpose of recruitment. I know this is a difficult time given the COVID-19 restrictions that are happening. And a lot of you, it seems like, are working from home. Well, I know most PhDs still have access to our labs, but a lot of people have restrictions. So I appreciate you being here. My final question for you is given your passion, I mean, I invited you all to participate in this panel because I know it would benefit people who are considering Penn Engineering. So I assume that means you have a strong passion for recruitment. And with that in mind, I just want you to give you time to think about what is the one thing you want people to know. I mean, when you decided to be a part of the recruitment efforts at Penn Engineering, what is something that you wanted to accomplish?
I can try and answer that question. Basically, it's for the person on the other end to understand that they can make it and they can get into Penn. So by all means, many of us weren't supposed to be here, but we somehow overcame some of the obstacles we bumped into, and we got here. So it's not impossible, and we want other people, at least I want other people to take that chance. You know, you can be from Africa, you can be from Middle East. Take that chance and apply to Penn.
I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to accomplish in recruitment was being able to equip people with the with the most amount of information that they can get to make the best decision for them. I think Penn is a great place. I think Philly's a great place, but I also know a lot of amazing engineers and scientists that wouldn't thrive here because of who they are. And a lot of people, and not necessarily like because they're incapable, but just their personality is different than what would be what would fit in this atmosphere. So what I wanted to make sure that I could do, which was something that was kind of passed down to me, was just to make sure that they are asking the right questions for themselves to be in the proper place for them. A lot of people aren't really willing to ask the tough questions, and some people don't know what the tough questions are. And I've been on both sides of that situation where I am now the grad student that is in the environment. I have been the person looking in to see if the environment is good for me. I've learned a lot from people at other universities about what to ask and who to ask. Like if you should be asking grad students about how the professor or the PI runs the lab and if that's conducive for the way that you need to work. These are just things that I've learned along the way, and I would like to partake, that's the wrong word. I would like to distribute that information to other people that, you know, may not have that type of visibility. So yeah, that's why I want to do this, and that's why I'm here. So I hope that I can help with that in some form or fashion in the future or now or whenever.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Kendall. I think the main purpose of me being involved in recruitment is because I just want people to have as much information as they can about making such a big decision. You know, it's going to, if you choose to enter and complete the PhD program, it's going to be a couple of years of your life. And, you know, it's just important to consider a lot of things when you're making this type of decision. That being said, no decision that you make is permanent. And at the end of the day, it's like taking the risk to come to an Ivy League institution with a really strong engineering program. If that is your option, is not a bad option, and everyone should be proud of the fact that they made it so far. I think just if I could give some advice, just be open-minded and be cognizant of the fact that, like, it should really, in my opinion, it should really feel like a good fit for you, whatever that means. If having a good advisor is the most important thing for you, then you should feel as if there's a good match in expectations between you and your advisor. If having a really strong community of people that you can see yourself hanging out with is important to you, you should feel that. If the city is really important to you, you should feel that. So understanding your priorities and making sure that this is really a place that you can see yourself being, no matter what the circumstances are, I think is the most valuable advice I can give.
Yeah, just to echo what William and Kendall and everybody said. Yeah, I just wanted to essentially just show that there's like a path that you can take. I mean, most of us, I think, come from many different backgrounds. Me specifically, I'm an immigrant to this country. I was born in Colombia, and I didn't know English when I first came in. So I feel like, you know, I feel a lot of people are in a situation, especially from a Latino community aspect. So I just wanted to essentially just show that, you know, we can do this essentially, you know, we got this. If you want to do it, there's a way to be done. And I feel like I just want to help with those recruitment efforts, just spread that voice and get everybody into Penn. And, you know, just one thing of advice I would say is that, you know, you should really look at, if you're thinking about graduate school, just think about your purpose. You should really like consider like what it is that you hope to get out of. Because for me, my path, I thought I was just going to do an MBA, and because of the job that I had before and my background, I was going to do an MBA. But the more I looked at things and the world that we live in, I thought, you know, computer science would be a better skill set for the future. So you gotta really think about your purpose and figure out what you want to do.
All right.
For me, oh, did you?
Sorry, go ahead. No.
Okay. I mean, for me, I appreciate I recognize there's a lot of great things happening here at Penn, and Philly's a great place to be. I just want Penn to be on people's radar whose it currently isn't. And then for those whose radar Penn is on, I want to, kind of reassure that, Penn is a good choice and that you should seriously look into it and seriously consider the university and the programs it has to offer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have given very similar reasons as to why I'm involved. It's a mixture of wanting to be hoping that I can reduce the anxiety in people that are looking at graduate programs or trying to figure out like what is important in a school when you're choosing it for grad school. I was very anxious throughout that process and was very worried, and there's a lot of information that I would go back and tell myself if I had the opportunity to do that, that would have helped me feel more confident in the choices that I was making or narrowing down my choices faster. And so I hope to be able to provide that to students. And yeah, I feel I feel like the people that were helping me through the process and providing advice were crucial in my experience of the transition between undergrad to graduate school and making selections. And so I have a high appreciation for what that can do for people. And so I hope to provide some amount of help and relief to people looking through grad school right now.
And just something else is that I think it's also like it's nice for people who are also might not even be considering grad school, just to see that like even if they don't go to Penn, just to kind of see like how maybe people have like the same kind of want to do the same things but don't know whether or not they want to do grad school, and maybe hearing from us they might actually realize that it is what they want to do, and kind of get inspiration that it's can be kind of tough sometimes, but it's like super rewarding, and it's a good investment of your time and energy.
Well, thank you all for joining me. I hope that we can have other panels like this and have this be a live situation where students can just chime in and ask you questions directly, because I think that would add the most value to our prospective students. But I am really grateful for your involvement today. I will be in contact with you again, and I hope that you all stay healthy, take care of as well as your physical health, but your mental and emotional health as well. This is a really difficult time for everyone. So my best to you, and take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this. And also, like she was saying, it's super anxious and emotionally difficult time right now with all the changes that are going on. And I highly recommend mindfulness resources that exist. I think those are really helpful for dealing with a lot of those emotions that may be coming up, and being able to kind of like exist with those emotions. And so there's a lot of good apps out there. Waking Up with Sam Harris, I think like mindfulness is the name of another one, but yeah, it's a good tool. But yeah.
Thanks, Victor.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.